Assalamualaikum and hi to all. So the title of our research was the factors that influence the performance of conventional and Islamic bank based on their profitability. Well, to begin with, the independent variables of our research was cost of fund, cost of capital, cost of labor, and interbank lending in relation to the dependent variables of profitability. So the method we have chosen to retrieve all the data of financial performance is Thomson-Reuters, and to receive the regression analysis, descriptive analysis, and the correlation test by performing them in eViews. The data of the financial performance was from the year of 2009 to 2019, so we have conducted 11 years of evaluation from separate bank of conventional and Islamic to compare the relation and the performance of profitability. So for the conventional bank, we have run 11 years of data for public bank and Maybank, and for Islamic bank was Bank Islam and Bank Muamalat. Next on the line is the problem statement. So as you can see from the figure 1, Malaysian banking market has experienced 4 major structural changes process, namely the application of Islamic banking system, consolidation process, liberalization and globalization, thus technological advancement. Changes in market competition is the result of many changes in structural, which led to an alteration in the number and type of financial institutions and their range of operation and activities. There are significant differences between both conventional and Islamic banking features. The competition has become greater because it involves foreign and non-bank intermediaries. Research objective, question, and hypothesis are as follows.
In this research, we have 4 independent variables. One of them are the cost of funds. There are several views found in the research paper regarding the cost of fund effect towards the profitability of bank. Theoretically, according to Julia Kagan in the year 2020, the source of profit for many banks is the differential between the cost of funding and the interest rate given to borrowers. It is related to the bank funds used in order to provide their customers loan. When the bank receives a higher return, it directly affects the profitability of the banks. Moreover, based on Salman and Nawaz in 2018, cost of fund does influence the profitability of both commercial and Islamic banking institutions, since the Islamic institutions share with their depositors on a mudarabah basis 50% of their profits. Moving on, cost of labor also has been chosen for this research because according to Thomas Brock, if the cost of labor are not distributed properly, the service or products that are provided by the banking institutions will be different from their real costs. It will impact the bank profitability negatively. Furthermore, Thun in 2008 also claimed that the labor could increase the profitability of bank due to the system efficiency or quality. Thus, with that we mentioned, he also said that excessive workload causes insufficient labor level, which lower down the profitability. Next, for the cost of capital, according to Muhammad Shadab Abdul Sattar research, cost of capital become one of the factors that impact not only the profitability but it also help the economy. Besides that, Prof. Dr. T. Valnam, PNJ Aloy Niraj mentioned that the cost of capital is crucial because with capital, there will be a start for a decision making. The banking institutions need to allocate their funds properly to avoid failure in utilizing so it could support the system. Lastly, for the interbank lending, the research that support this variable is Ailian Zhang et al. In the research, it was stated that banks could increase their profits with the help of interbank lending since it increases the revenue. Apart from that, it also mentioned that bank liabilities could be reduced at the same time. However, bank has the possibility to be exposed to leverage risk. Moreover, according to Fazlan Sufyan, since interbank lending is related to the output being provided by the bank, when there is enough funds to be lent to the customers in a form of loan, the bank could collect their profits because of the amount of interest. Besides that, based on Ninding and Jungi from research that compare both United States of America and China bank, it shows that there is a presence of interbank lending. However, The interbank lending impact China banking institution positively, while in the USA, the result is otherwise. Lastly, for the interbank lending, the research that supports this variable is ISLAMIC et al. In the research, it was stated that banks could increase their profits with the help of interbank lending since it increases the revenue. Apart from that, it also mentioned that bank liabilities could be reduced at the same time. However, bank has the possibility to be exposed to leverage risk. Moreover, according to Fazlan Sufyan, since interbank lending is related to the output being provided by the bank, when there is enough funds to be lent to the customers in a form of loan, the bank could collect their profits because of the amount of interest. Besides that, based on Ninding and Jungi from research that compare both United States of America and China Bank, it shows that there is a presence of interbank lending. However, the interbank lending impact China banking institution positively, while in the USA, the result is otherwise.
So for the data collection method, we use annual report, Bursa Malaysia, and Thomson Reuters data stream. For annual report, in this analysis, the data in calculating the ratio of the listed financial institution will be taken from the company's annual report on an annual basis. The data taken from the report will be contribute to the identification and result of profitability that occurs inside the organization. So for the Bursa Malaysia, to conduct this research, we choose 4 banks that have the element of cost of fund, cost of capital, cost of labours, and interbank lending that could impact the bank's profitability. However, in Bursa Malaysia, the listed companies that has been listed out is only Maybank and Public Bank. Next, we use Thomson Reuters data stream. Thomson Reuters data stream is a framework that provides a broad variety of in-depth financial information within a workspace that is customized to its users' need and workflow. It is a multinational financial institution. Thomson Reuters data stream is a framework that delivers a wide range in-depth financial information, all within workspace that is tailored to the needs and workflow of its users. So for the data analysis method, we analyze the data using descriptive analysis, correlation test, and regression analysis. To analyze this data, we use panel data, which is that retrieved from the year 2009 to year 2019, that consists of 4 types of banks, which are Bank Islam, Bank Muamalat, Public Banks, and Maybank. The total of data set for 4 banks is 44. So for the descriptive analysis is a mathematical description, aggregation, and presentation of the structure of interest or their relation. On the other hand, descriptive analysis also provides an effortless summarization of the study and the steps. As for this research, the method that we have used is central tendency. A distribution central tendency is an approximation of the middle of a data set value. There are 3 main categories of central inclination projections, which are means, median, and mode. To find the mean, we simply add all the values together and divide by the number of values. Next is median. Median can be calculated by listing all the scores in numerical order and then locating the result in a sample middle. Lastly is mode. We have calculated the mode by reordering the scores as seen above and then counting each one of mode is the most often used value. Next is correlation test. Correlation test is a statistical method for determining whether 2 variables dataset have a relationship and how strong the relationship is. The range of values is -1.0 to 1.0. A perfect negative correlation is represented by a correlation of -1.0, while a perfect positive correlation is represented by a correlation of 1.0. A correlation of 0.0 indicates that there is no linear relationship between the 2 variables' movement. So for the correlation test, we will conduct t-test, f-test, and multicollinearity test for this study. The t-test is a statistical test for comparing the means of 2 groups. F-tests are used to test the equality of means statically. The f-test will be used to determine the significance of a multiple correlation coefficient that has been found. when there are strong correlation between two or more independent variables. Multicollinearity is when there are strong correlation between two or more independent variables. Calculating correlation coefficient for all independent variables is a simple technique to determine multicollinearity. As for regression analysis is a set of statistical methods for estimating the relationship between the dependent variable and one or more independent variable. It can be used to determine the strength of a relationship between the variable and to predict how they will relate in the future. Simple linear and multiple linear models are the most common. We also use multiple regression to estimate the model's overall fit and the proportionate contribution of each variable to the total variance explained. So for the research framework is a figure that supports the research in the study. It enhances the understanding of one's reader. The framework aims to test the relationship between independent and dependent variable. As for you can see from this figure, it illustrates that the independent variable could impact the profitability of banks in Malaysia. This research used Thomson-Reuters data stream to collect the data from 4 factors, which are cost of funds, cost of labor, cost of capital, and interbank lending segmentation.
Now, for the regression analysis of commercial banks, it could be seen that the coefficient for 3 variables such as COF, COL, and IL are negatively correlated with the profitability of the banks. In addition to that, there is only one independent variable that shows a positive correlation, which is COC. Next, based on the independent variable p-value, it could be concluded that only cost of labor have relationship with the profitability of the bank because the value of 0.0001 is lower than the significant level. Furthermore, the R-square percentage is 77.95%. It means that the variation in the profitability of commercial banks were affected by variables such as cost of funds, cost of labor, cost of capital, and interbank lending, while the remaining 22.05% are affected by other factors. Besides that, the adjusted R-square with 72.76% could be interpreted that the variation in profitability of commercial banks are explained by the independent variables below. Next, the p-value for F statistic is 0.0000. It shows that the estimated regression
From
is
the regression
overall.
analysis of Islamic banking, we indicate that cost of capital and cost of fund are negatively correlated with the dependent variable, which it can give a bad impact and decrease the profitability of Islamic banking. However, cost of labor and interbank lending shows a positive relationship with profitability. Furthermore, the p-value of independent variable, it shows that only cost of labor are significant since the value 0.008 is less than 5% of significance level. Next, for R-square value, which is only 43.08%, can be explained by the independent variable, while the other 56.92% is influenced by other variations of probability. For adjusted R-square, it indicates that only 29.69% of variation is explained by the independent variable that actually affect the profitability. For the probability of F statistic, the value is 0.087, which is less than 0.05. This shows that the model is overall fit, thus the null hypothesis will be rejected.
So for the conclusion in this research, the result shows that the cost of capital, cost of labor, and interbank lending does not have the relationship with the profitability of the banks in Malaysia, and it has been supported by the other researchers. However, for the independent variable, which is cost of funds, the result shows that the cost of funds have a relationship with the profitability of banks. The result is based on the regression analysis, and it has been supported by the other researchers. Therefore, the independent variables, except for cost of funds, may have their own function to the banks. But these three types of independent variables does not affect the profitability of the banks either in commercial or Islamic.
After all things considered, now we have come to the part of recommendations. So, there are many limitations that occurs in the process of completing the research paper. So the first thing first, we humbly recommend other researchers to properly conduct the reviews to enhance a better result and precise relationship between all the variables stated with profitability of the bank in Malaysia, either conventional or Islamic. Next, more methodological works needed to robustly capture the impact of cost of fund, cost of labor, cost of capital, and the interbank lending in relation to profitability. Lastly and finally, it will also be helpful if the bank itself disclose a complete financial data for researchers to properly conduct the performance evaluation and analyze the relationship of all the variables given, especially in Malaysia for Islamic and conventional banking. With that being said, thank you.